Why do you think people are homeless?
Because they spend all their money and then they spend the rest on alcohol.
It's scary, like they come up and they're like, you're gonna like eat you or something. Because they lose their jobs and lose their houses and lose their family, so they're screwed.
That's a huge question because, and I don't know whether I can pinpoint it, but a lot of our clients have severe mental illness, and some of them could be in hospital, but in the 1970s they did a deinstitutionalization and they shut down a lot of institutions, and a lot of those people ended up in the street with severe mental illnesses, and then they ended up homeless and of course in shelters. That's one area. Also severe and chronic addictions like alcoholism, prevention things for when people do get in their housing, that they're able to keep it and they have the support around to be able to keep it, so that might help it as well.
Certain individuals?
Well, homelessness is a culture on its own. It's a culture. Then there's several subcultures in homelessness. You have people who have addictions, people who have mental health issues, and then there's even subcultures in that as well. So the groups break down as well. You might have people who are have chronic addictions, and you have the alcoholics over here, and the people who are drug addicts over here that not necessarily not necessarily work together or communicate with each other. They may be over here and and not necessarily like each other, so they have their own kind of subculture here and this subculture here. Well, we definitely receive some funding from different levels of government, the city, the Ministry of Health, and also the federal government. So we do receive funding from different levels, which is good. Policies that will help us. Now, the homeless isn't governed by. I think they need all of the things. I think the shelters. If you take the shelters 10 years ago and you take them today, 10 years ago you would have the numbers would be lower, and in the summer there would be a significant drop off. Now, 10 years later, the numbers are the same in the winter and the summer, and they're high. So the numbers have increased. So definitely shelter is definitely something that they need. But I would say the big thing is support. They need more workers to support them through their journey, whether they come here completely without anything, and whether they need to have support for them to get different things in their journey. I think that if we had more social workers to help somebody, maybe if somebody moves out of a shelter into an apartment and they need some medication management, they have a social worker that would help them, making sure that they keep taking their medication so that they can take their apartment. Or somebody who's an alcoholic moves into a housing, that they don't move and they're left there. They don't move into a rooming house, it's lonely, they're left there by themselves, nobody visits them, it gets lonely, they end up in the shelters where they end up start drinking. So they might want some relapse prevention. Well, some of the misconceptions are that they're lazy, that they need to get a job, when in fact a lot of them can't necessarily work because of severe mental illnesses or addictions, so they have to work on that. So that's one thing. They're not lazy. They would love to work.